It looks like things are about to get even worse for Jay-Z, with some women from his past now speaking out with shocking claims. These women are saying that Jay-Z allegedly had relationships with them before they were of legal age. Over the past few months, there have been plenty of rumors about Jay-Z's inappropriate connections with younger women, with names like Foxy Brown and Aya popping up. But the latest person making waves is Teairra, and what she's saying is definitely turning heads. Teairra claims that when she was just 15, Jay-Z took advantage of her. And it doesn't stop there. She also alleges that Beyoncé knew about the affair and used her power to destroy Teairra's career as payback for allegedly trying to steal her man. Teairra has come forward with some pretty serious evidence to back up her story, and now it seems like Jay-Z's troubles are far from over. Teairra is ready to tell her side of the story, and what she's revealing about her time in the music industry is nothing short of explosive. She's accusing both Jay-Z and Beyoncé of actively working to ruin her career. With everything she's revealing, it's clear that Jay-Z's image is in for a serious shakeup. Stay tuned. This story is just getting started. For those who haven't yet gotten around to subscribing to the show, please follow along behind the scenes footage. And finally, without further ado, let's dive into this story. Stay tuned. Teairra's story takes a shocking turn, with her claiming that her dreams of stardom were deliberately crushed to make way for Rihanna to become the face of Rockefeller and Def Jam. Let's be honest, these kinds of allegations about Jay-Z and Beyoncé aren't exactly surprising anymore. Over the years, there have been whispers about how the power couple has done whatever it takes to protect their empire, even if it means getting rid of anyone who stands in their way. But Teairra's account hits differently because it feels both personal and well-planned. According to Teairra, what really went wrong for her wasn't just competition or jealousy, it was her alleged affair with Jay-Z when she was still a teenager. She says she paid a heavy price for getting caught up in that relationship, but it wasn't always this way. In the beginning, Teairra claims her relationship with Jay-Z was strong. He wasn't just her boss, he believed in her and was one of her biggest supporters. In the post-release trailer, Jay-Z plays both Jay-Z and Jay-Z. Jay-Z reportedly saw huge potential in her and even called her the Princess of Rockefeller. For a while, it seemed like she was destined for stardom, but things quickly spiraled out of control, and Teairra's career took a hit. At one point, Teairra seemed set to be Rockefeller's next big star. She was known as the First Lady of the Rock and even called the Princess of the label. At that time, Rihanna wasn't even in the picture, and it looked like Teairra's future was bright. Jay-Z, always known for spotting talent, was fully invested in her career, or so she thought. But everything changed when Rihanna came into the scene. Teairra says that the label started focusing all its attention on Rihanna, and she felt like she was being pushed aside. Teairra believes it wasn't just about making Rihanna the star, it was about removing her as competition and hiding Jay-Z's alleged affair with her. According to Teairra, her career didn't just slow down, it was deliberately sidetracked. She claims that Jay-Z and Beyoncé made strategic moves to kill her momentum and clear the way for Rihanna to rise to the top, all while keeping Jay-Z's secret relationship out of the public eye. For years, Teairra kept quiet about what was really happening, laying low and avoiding questions. But now, she's ready to share her side of the story. It's clear that what seemed like a simple career setback might have been something much bigger. The question is, how much more is still to come? Stay tuned, because this is just the beginning. Teairra is finally speaking up about why her music career never fully took off, and the story she's sharing is about to get messy. For years, she stayed quiet, but now she's calling out what she feels was a betrayal by people she once trusted. At first, Jay-Z was all in on Teairra. If he didn't believe in her, he would never have crowned her the Princess of Rockefeller. Jay-Z isn't known for giving out compliments easily, especially in the tough world of music. But things started to change once Rihanna joined Def Jam, and Teairra says that's when everything began to fall apart. She believes that after Rihanna came on board, Jay-Z shifted his focus entirely. Instead of helping her rise, Teairra feels he worked to push her aside to make room for Rihanna. And it wasn't just Jay-Z who saw the potential in Teairra, the label was behind her too. For a while, she was the one they had big plans for. But when Rihanna came into the picture, Teairra didn't see her as a threat. That's when things started to shift in ways Teairra couldn't have predicted. At first, Teairra was the label's top priority, and it seemed like everything was falling into place for her. She had huge opportunities, and the label was clearly putting in the work to make her a household name. One of the most telling moments was the World Music Awards. Teairra, Rihanna, and Amari performed together, covering Destiny's Child's Lost My Breath. Teairra was even given the solo part that Beyoncé originally sang. That wasn't just a small decision, it was a big move, sending a strong message that Teairra was the one they were backing. Everything seemed perfect for Teairra, but according to her, this success only fueled what was happening behind closed doors. She claims Jay-Z started seeing her as a roadblock to Rihanna's success. Instead of allowing both artists to shine, she says Jay-Z began working to shift the spotlight entirely to Rihanna. Teairra's star, which was once rising so quickly, started to dim not because she lacked talent, but because of the behind-the-scenes moves that tried to push her out of the way. At some point, the decision was made to focus on Rihanna instead, and that's when everything started to change for Teairra. She went from being Rockefeller's shining star to fighting for attention. Not long before, Teairra was on top, soaking in the spotlight from both fans and the label. She was their golden girl, the one they were clearly backing. But according to Teairra, things started to shift soon after her performance at the World Music Awards. She believes Jay-Z began making moves to replace her with Rihanna, who had just been signed. Now here's where things get a bit confusing. Why couldn't Def Jam and Rockefeller just promote both of them? These were big, powerful labels with plenty of money, so they could have supported two rising stars. But for reasons Teairra doesn't fully understand, they chose to focus on just one. She says this decision set the stage for everything that went wrong for her. And to make matters worse, it didn't help that Beyoncé found out about her alleged affair with Jay-Z. Around this time, things started to get really tense. Teairra believes that Jay-Z wasn't happy with how little attention Rihanna was getting from the label. While Teairra was in the spotlight, Rihanna was still trying to catch up, and Jay-Z didn't like it. He saw massive potential in Rihanna and took her under his wing, becoming her mentor. There's even a story where Jay-Z kept Rihanna in his office until 3 a.m. during a meeting and allegedly threatened to throw her out of the 27th floor window if she didn't sign with the label. Rihanna was nervous as could be when she walked in. She said she was literally shaking. But once she stepped into Jay-Z's office, the atmosphere completely changed. It was warm and welcoming. Then she had to sing for him. She performed Pon de Replay a cappella and also sang another ballad from her album. When she was done, Jay-Z said something that stuck with her. He told her, "We don't sing songs here, we sing artists." After a pause, he added, "And we're going to make you one." Rihanna remembers feeling a mix of nerves and relief when she was meeting with Jay-Z. After she sang for him, Jay-Z said something that stuck with her. "There are two ways to leave here, through the door with the deal sign, or through this window, and we're on the 29th floor. At that point, Rihanna was probably thinking, where do I sign? It was clear she was in. Jay-Z saw something special in Rihanna and was determined to help her become a superstar. But according to Teairra, that wasn't just about building Rihanna up, it was also about tearing her down. Teairra believes Jay-Z didn't start going after her career out of the blue. He knew he had to be careful. If he made a big move too soon, it could backfire on him, Rihanna, or even the label. So instead of making obvious moves, Teairra believed Jay-Z played a quiet game. He was pulling strings behind the scenes, slowly shifting the focus of the label from Teairra to Rihanna. It wasn't that Teairra lacked talent. Her star just started to fade because of these behind-the-scenes games. As Teairra saw it, when the quiet moves weren't enough, Jay-Z brought in the heavy hitters. This is where things took a real turn. She claims that Jay-Z brought in Beyoncé to make sure Rihanna's career skyrocketed while hers fell apart. According to Teairra, this decision set off a chain reaction, causing her career to stall almost overnight. What seemed like a promising future suddenly came to a halt, and Teairra was left wondering how everything went so wrong so fast. Meanwhile, Rihanna's career was soaring and she quickly became the label's top star. For Teairra, it wasn't just about losing her spot, it was about feeling deeply betrayed by someone who once believed in her. This whole situation is a harsh reminder of how brutal the music industry can be, where loyalty often gets pushed aside for business. When Teairra talks about Jay-Z's bringing in the big guns, she's talking about Beyoncé. Teairra claims that Jay-Z involved Beyoncé in his plan to damage her reputation with the label. At the time, Beyoncé was already a major force in the industry, with a successful solo career, and her legacy was only getting stronger. Beyoncé, as the lead singer of Destiny's Child, was already a huge force in the music industry, and her opinions carried a lot of weight. Teairra believes that Beyoncé used her influence to push Rihanna ahead. By the time all of this was happening, Beyoncé and Jay-Z were already a couple, and Teairra feels that their relationship played a big role in Beyoncé stepping in. Rihanna was Jay-Z's artist, and Teairra thinks Beyoncé helped shift the label's focus away from her and onto Rihanna. Meanwhile, but it wasn't just about supporting Rihanna quietly. Teairra claims Beyoncé actively made moves to make her look bad, helping Rihanna take the top spot. Whether it was because of loyalty to Jay-Z or a genuine belief in Rihanna's talent, Teairra says it all led to the same result. Her career crashed while Rihanna's soared. Aida says this all started at a major Def Jam showcase where both she and Rihanna performed. Coincidentally, Beyoncé was sitting right next to L.A. Reid, the head of Def Jam. Teairra feels that this moment was key in pushing the label's attention away from her and onto Rihanna. The plot thickens from here, and it's clear this whole situation was a lot more calculated than it first seemed. L.A. Reid, one of the big names at the label, had always been a strong supporter of Teairra. He played a huge role in getting her the attention and opportunities she needed early in her career. He was the one pushing her as the label's next big star. But Teairra believes if anyone wanted to take her spot, they first had to win over L.A. Reid, and she's convinced that's exactly what Beyoncé and Jay-Z tried to do. Teairra feels that Beyoncé's seating arrangement at the event wasn't just a random choice. In her eyes, it was all part of a well-planned strategy to make sure Beyoncé had direct access to L.A. Reid. Teairra claims that Beyoncé had one goal that night: to shift L.A.'s focus from her to Rihanna, even if it meant putting her hard-earned position at risk. Teairra says that's exactly what went down. During the showcase, Beyoncé reportedly took her shot to highlight Rihanna's potential, and L.A. Reid later admitted that something Beyoncé said caught his attention. For Teairra, this was a big turning point, a moment that shifted everything in Rihanna's favor. The music industry is full of behind-the-scenes moves like this, and this story just really added to the tragic legacy. Despite Beyoncé's quote-unquote virtuous history, after the showcase, things started to shift. Even though L.A. Reid didn't get into specifics, whatever Beyoncé said definitely made an impact on him. Teairra believes this was the turning point, when things started to go downhill for her. Right after the event, LA's attention started to move toward Rihanna. The label began putting more focus and resources into her, while Teairra felt like her own career was losing steam. For Teairra, this was the start of the end at Def Jam, a calculated move by two of the biggest names in the music industry to push Rihanna forward, even at her expense. Teairra remembers a moment after the showcase where L.A. Reid admitted, "We had a showcase and there were two artists performing, Teairra Marie and Rihanna. I was honestly paying more attention to Teairra because she's such a sweet girl." But then Teairra says Beyoncé gave him a look and said, "That Rihanna girl, she's a beast," and walked away. That moment, Teairra believes, was the tipping point. It got L.A. Reid to notice Rihanna in a way he hadn't before. At first, Jay-Z and the label didn't see Rihanna as a main priority. She was more of a backup plan. But things changed when Teairra started pushing back on the direction the label wanted to take her career. According to Teairra, the label wanted her to ditch her good girl image and go for a more rebellious, edgy vibe, a good girl gone bad style. They thought it would make her stand out, but Teairra struggled with this change. She admits she couldn't pull off the baddie energy they were hoping for. Looking back, it makes sense why this was hard for her. After all, she was still in high school, trying to juggle school with the intense pressure of the music industry. Being asked to act like a grown, rebellious woman didn't feel right or natural to her. Meanwhile, Rihanna seemed to fit the vibe perfectly. She had that natural edge and confidence that aligned with the image the label wanted, and she didn't hesitate to embrace it. So here's where it really gets tough for Teairra. When Rihanna came in, the label saw an opportunity and quickly shifted their focus all toward her. Teairra claims it was frustrating to watch, but it became obvious that the label wanted someone who would go along with their vision, no questions asked. Rihanna, with her natural bad girl vibe, was an easy fit, and the timing couldn't have been better for her. Meanwhile, Teairra found herself slowly pushed to the side. She wasn't willing to change who she was, and that ended up costing her the spotlight she once had. And get this, on the day of her prom, Teairra got the call. She was just about to get ready, putting lotion on her legs when the phone rang. "Hey, we're letting you go," they said. Talk about a crushing moment. But wait for it. Here's the part that really burned her. Just weeks after being dropped, Rihanna's debut album, Music of the Sun, came out, and it sold exactly the same number of copies as Teairra's album, 690,000. Imagine that! Teairra had been dropped, but her album did the same as Rihanna's, and it must have felt so unfair to her. Teairra's story doesn't just stop there, though. While Rihanna got another shot after her first album, Teairra felt like everything she worked for was being ripped away from her. Imagine being dropped just when you were ready to shine, especially when you see someone else getting the chance you thought was yours. That's what Teairra went through, and it wasn't just about losing her spot, it felt like a slap in the face. Rihanna, who had just released her debut album, was given a second chance, even though her album didn't exactly blow up. Teairra's album sold just as many copies, but she didn't get the same treatment. And here's where Teairra's anger really comes from. She doesn't blame Rihanna for what happened. No, she points the finger straight at Jay-Z. She believes he used his power to push Rihanna forward and push her out. Teairra is convinced that when it came down to who to drop, Jay-Z made sure she was the one who was let go. Why? Because he wanted to focus on Rihanna and she was just in the way. It's a crazy story, right? But according to Teairra, that's not all. She also says that she was pressured into an affair with Jay-Z while she was still in high school. She was young, barely out of her teens, and Jay-Z was already a big name in his 30s. And instead of being seen as a victim in this situation, she says she was blamed for the affair. To her, that's where everything went wrong, and she couldn't let it go. This story is getting more shocking by the minute, so let's break it down. According to some sources close to the situation, it's not just that Jay-Z had a problematic relationship with Teairra. There are claims that he actually groomed her when she was still quite young. And it doesn't stop there. Allegedly, Jay-Z passed her around within his circle, treating her like just another piece of talent to sample, even though she was still pretty much a teenager when she was signed. Now here's where things get even crazier. While Jay-Z was reportedly involved with Teairra, he was also with someone else, possibly even Beyonce, who had a serious presence in his life. And apparently, Teairra's manager at the time had enough of it. They told Jay-Z to stop messing around with the new talent, thinking it would make him realize Teairra had something special, but apparently that wasn't the case. Teairra's career started to crumble fast after that, with rumors swirling that no one would sign her to a record deal anymore. Word got out that if anyone tried to sign her, there would be serious consequences. This sounds like a level of control that goes beyond just the business side of things. So in 1997, GW's general manager, Richard Ranzo, took this entire situation is a wild roller coaster, and it seems like Teairra's career got completely wrecked for almost a decade. Allegedly, Jay-Z groomed her, made her believe she was going to be a star, and then everything flipped. Once Beyonce found out about the affair, Teairra says Jay-Z dumped her and blackballed her, making sure no other label would touch her. But here's the twist. Teairra thinks the whole focus on Rihanna was just a smokescreen for the real reason Jay-Z dropped her. She believes he saw Rihanna as a new, fresh face he could control while dealing with issues at home with Beyonce. But wait, it doesn't end there. Even after all this went down, Jay-Z didn't stop his alleged shady behavior with young women. Rihanna's publicist came out with some crazy claims, saying the FBI even questioned him about Jay-Z's interactions with young women. According to the publicist, law enforcement showed up in unmarked cars, and he was freaked out, sitting down to speak with them about the whole situation. Right, this is where it gets pretty intense. The publicist was pulled into an interrogation room, and that's when things really hit him. The officers told him they'd been watching Jay-Z for a long time. They weren't just concerned about the drama with Lance Rivera, but there was also the whole R. Kelly situation. Apparently, the cops were investigating Jay-Z for his relationship with young women like Rihanna, and even allegedly transporting her across international borders. And get this, they said Rihanna wasn't the only one. There were more women involved. This was a huge wake-up call for the publicist, a brutal reality check. But looking back, there are some pretty big red flags. For starters, Jay-Z and R. Kelly were super close. They released 2 albums together, had a whole tour, and even worked on over 30 songs. On top of that, Jay-Z has been tight with Diddy for decades. When you start putting it all together, you can see why these investigations might raise some serious questions. KZ has ensured serious privilege. Now what? This is what we came here to ask Jay-Z about later on the show. This whole story just keeps getting wilder. Over the years, there have been a lot of rumors about Jay-Z's relationships with stars like Aaliyah and Foxy Brown. Some of them are pretty shocking, with people even speculating that he may have had something to do with Aaliyah's tragic death. And with Foxy Brown, the rumors about their relationship seem to grow every time they come up. But what really gets people talking are the reports that Jay-Z might have been involved with Beyonce before she turned 18. When you pile all these rumors on top of the serious accusations he's facing today, it's hard not to see why people are questioning what's really been going on behind the scenes. Now, with everything that's been said, Teairra's story starts to make a lot more sense, doesn't it? It paints a pretty ugly picture, and I'd love to hear what you think about it. Do you think there's any truth to all these claims, or is it just another Hollywood story gone too far? Let me know what you think in the comments, and be sure to check out the next video to dive deeper into the chaos. Plus, discover instant access to all of the stories pages where you can start writing your own thumbnails to nail titles.